The Federalist Papers were a series of 85 essays written by three prominent figures, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, in the late 18th century. These essays were published under the collective pseudonym Publius, and were primarily aimed at persuading the citizens of New York to ratify the newly proposed U.S. Constitution. Written between 1787 and 1788, they remain a cornerstone of American political philosophy and have had a lasting influence on the interpretation of the Constitution. In the wake of the American Revolution, the United States was governed by the Articles of Confederation, a framework that had proven to be inadequate in addressing the nation's needs. The Articles created a weak central government that lacked the power to tax, regulate interstate commerce, or enforce laws. By the mid-1780s, it had become clear to many that a stronger, more cohesive federal government was necessary for the survival and prosperity of the nation. In 1787, a constitutional convention was convened in Philadelphia to draft a new constitution. The Constitution was a product of compromise, blending ideas of federalism, republicanism, and democracy. However, it was met with considerable resistance, especially in states like New York, where many feared that the new government would be too centralized and would infringe upon individual liberties. This opposition threatened the success of the Constitution's ratification. In response, Hamilton, Madison, and Jay set out to sway public opinion in favor of the proposed Constitution. The writers: Hamilton, Madison, and Jay. Alexander Hamilton, one of the principal authors of the Constitution, was a key advocate for a strong central government. Hamilton, born in the West Indies and a self-made man, had a deep understanding of finance and economics. He believed that a robust federal government was essential for national unity and economic stability. Hamilton was deeply concerned about the potential for factions and instability that could arise from a weak central government. James Madison, often referred to as the father of the Constitution, played a significant role in shaping the document. Madison had an acute understanding of political theory and human nature. He was particularly concerned with the danger of factions and the tyranny of the majority, and he advocated for a system of checks and balances to protect individual rights. Madison's views on government were heavily influenced by Enlightenment thinkers like Montesquieu and Rousseau. John Jay, a diplomat and lawyer, was another strong proponent of the Constitution. Jay had been an important figure in the American Revolution, serving as a key negotiator of the Treaty of Paris that ended the war. His contributions to the Federalist Papers were important but less voluminous compared to Hamilton and Madison's. Jay's primary concern was ensuring the security and unity of the new nation. He was especially concerned with foreign policy issues and the threat posed by European powers. The structure and content of the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers were first published in newspapers in New York, where the Constitution's ratification was being hotly debated. The essays appeared in serial form between October 1787 and May 1788, and they provided a comprehensive argument in favor of the new Constitution. Each essay addressed different aspects of the Constitution, including its structure, its provisions, and the philosophy behind it. The essays can be grouped into several key themes. 1. The necessity of a strong central government. Hamilton, Madison, and Jay argued that a strong central government was necessary to provide for the common defense, regulate commerce, and promote the general welfare of the nation. They contended that under the Articles of Confederation, the government lacked the authority to effectively deal with domestic and international problems. A strong federal government would provide the stability needed for economic growth and national unity. 2. The dangers of factions. Madison, in particular, was concerned with the problem of factions, which he defined as groups of people who pursue their own interests at the expense of the common good. In Federalist Number 10, Madison argued that the best way to control factions was through a large republic. He believed that a large republic would make it more difficult for any single faction to dominate the political system, as there would be more diverse interests and opinions. 3. Checks and balances. The Federalist Papers emphasized the importance of a system of checks and balances, in which the different branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, would have separate powers and could limit each other's authority. This system was designed to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful and to protect individual liberties. The Federalist authors argued that this structure would promote stability and prevent tyranny. Separation of powers. Madison and Hamilton were firm believers in the principle of the separation of powers. In Federalist No. 51, Madison argued that each branch of government should be independent of the others, with the ability to check and balance the power of the other branches. This principle was intended to prevent any one person or group from gaining too much control over the government. Number 5. The role of the executive. The role of the executive was another important topic in the Federalist Papers. Hamilton, in particular, argued for a strong executive branch, which he believed was necessary to ensure the effective execution of laws and to provide leadership in times of crisis. He believed that a strong executive would provide stability and continuity in government, especially during times of war or national emergency. This idea was controversial, as many feared that a strong executive could lead to tyranny, but Hamilton argued that the president would be held accountable by other branches of government. Number 6. The importance of an independent judiciary. The Federalist Papers also highlighted the importance of an independent judiciary. Hamilton argued that the judiciary should be insulated from political pressures in order to protect the Constitution and individual rights. He believed that an independent judiciary was necessary to uphold the rule of law and ensure that the government operated within the bounds of the Constitution. Major Federalist Papers. While all of the Federalist Papers are important, some are particularly influential in shaping American political thought. Federalist No. 10. Written by Madison, this essay is perhaps the most famous of the entire series. It addresses the problem of factions and argues that a large republic, like the one proposed by the Constitution, is the best way to control their negative effects. Madison argues that the diversity of interests in a large republic would prevent any one faction from gaining too much power, and that the government should be designed to filter out the influence of factions through a system of representation. Federalist No. 51, another essay by Madison, Federalist No. 51, outlines the system of checks and balances and the separation of powers. Madison argues that the structure of the Constitution will prevent any one branch of government from becoming too powerful and will ensure that each branch is accountable to the others. Federalist No. 78, written by Hamilton, this essay discusses the role of the judiciary and the importance of an independent judiciary in protecting the Constitution and individual rights. Hamilton argues that the judiciary is the least dangerous branch of government because it has no power over the purse or the sword, and therefore poses no threat to individual liberties. Federalist No. 70, written by Hamilton, this essay argues in favor of a strong, energetic executive. Hamilton contends that a single president, as opposed to a plural executive, would be more effective and accountable. He emphasizes that the president should be able to act decisively, especially in times of national crisis. Legacy and influence. The Federalist Papers played a crucial role in the ratification of the Constitution. They provided a comprehensive argument in favor of the new system of government and helped to address many of the concerns that people had about the proposed Constitution. They remain an essential source for understanding the framers' intentions and the principles that underpin American government. The influence of the Federalist Papers extends far beyond the 18th century. The essays have been cited by judges, legal scholars, and politicians throughout American history. Their ideas about federalism, separation of powers, and checks and balances continue to shape the way Americans think about government. In particular, the Federalist Papers have had a lasting impact on constitutional interpretation and the development of American political thought. The Federalist Papers are a foundational text in American political thought. Written by Hamilton, Madison, and Jay, these essays articulated a vision for a strong, balanced, and effective government that would be able to address the challenges of the post-Revolutionary War period. The arguments made in the Federalist Papers played a pivotal role in the ratification of the U.S. Constitution and continue to influence the interpretation of the Constitution today. The ideas expressed in these essays, particularly those related to federalism, checks and balances, and the separation of powers, remain central to the functioning of the American government. The Federalist Papers are not only important historical documents, but also timeless contributions to the understanding of democracy and the rule of law.